Welcome back to the show that we, for a good reason, call the Boring Show. And I'm here today with John.
Hi.
Hi, John.
Thanks.
So my question is, who are you?
I'm John. I work at Google on the Dart team.
All right.
And we're here to help with the HackerNews app today.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So I actually sit right next to John. So today, it's okay. Let's talk about like prequels here. So as all of you, I'm sure know, we have this HackerNews app, which is an app that we started way back in the first episode of the Boring Show, and you don't need to watch all the shows between then and now, but like so that you know, I like that app because it's complex enough that it's not just like a simple sample. But it's also, we sometimes like remove features so that it's not like too crazy. And also it's like it was wholly developed on this show. So like there's no code, I think, that did not originate while we were like here. So the code looks terrible. But what we are gonna do now, I want to say, as far as I know, like time works weirdly with these things. So your last show that you saw was not about the HackerNews app, and we didn't see it because it was, I think, recorded yesterday. And then that was with Mary. And then the one before that we also didn't see, and that was with Emily Fortuna and Emily Shack. And that one was about HackerNews app. And we don't know much about that episode, but we do know the code because, as you all know, the code for this app is open source. It's on GitHub, on my actually account, Filip H/HackerNews app. So you can, you can look at it. You can hopefully build it on your own device, and so what we saw, and I briefly talked to Emily yesterday, they implemented in the past few episodes, they implemented like favorites. So they have some kind of database in which they put favorites, like local database. And then they also, last time, they tried to do something with the drawer. And so we thought, the one before that ended with a bug, and they fixed the bug. Emily fixed the bug, and then at the end of their episode, they introduced a new bug. So we're going to try and fix the new bug
and add a new bug.
So it's like a how to call it, like a relay race. Okay, cool. So let's see the app. I think. So if you've never been to this show, this is the app. You can see the bug is already showing, which is great. Let me restart so you see it in its glory without the bug. So it's a reader of HackerNews articles. It is actually connected to the internet, so these are actual articles from HackerNews right now. These are top stories. These are news stories. We have little things like maybe you saw like how the icon here rotated as we were. Yeah, here's the bug. As we were going to the news stories, because that's kind of like our way to say that we are loading things. And also you might have noticed how I'm very proud of this. How like when you go to the next page, these things kind of crossfade or fade through white. Yeah, thank you. And then we have the tabs here, and that's basically, we have search. We have things like expandables, and then you can go to the actual web page. All right. So cool. In terms of code, we are using, since like 3 episodes ago, we are using provider instead of block. So like all these things should be change notifiers. I can already see that we can change this with a new provider from 3.0, but let's not do that now. And then, we have like the usual stuff. My app, my homepage, there's a scaffold, and then we have some widgets here like the headline and the search. And then we have a bunch of, that's the notifiers. That's like, state management stuff. And then, wow, that's the favorites. And I guess we're using like source generation to get this from there. Data class, awesome.
So it can save to the database.
Yeah. Ooh, okay, that's new. Okay. Article is a build value. Okay, cool. So what do we do with this bug? So it looks like if we restart again, that this looks fine, but then we do that, and then we do that, and now we have like favorites page here. So what do we do? Where is this? This is a scaffold, right? No, this is an app bar. And it is a leading. It had a leading, and now, oh, okay. Right. So let me just maybe remove this. So to do loading value. Why is it never not one? Huh. That might be a bug in our code as well. I don't know. Interesting.
So what is it printing out there? It's printing the loading value.
Debug.
Oh. So there it's 1.
Yeah, it's 1. Okay.
Okay.
So thank you. Thank you. Also, thank you. Okay. So now, I think we saw the issue. Like we looked at this, to be honest, yesterday, briefly. And like the issue I think here is that that's not where you put a drawer, right?
Right.
So Scaffold gives you a bunch of things to provide. One of them is drawer. One of them is end drawer. Do you know about end drawer?
I've never used end drawer.
Yeah. I think it's on the other side of the screen. Like it's end because you could have left to right, in which case it's on the anyway
on the right side.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah. So let's add the drawer there, maybe.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. I'm gonna put it at the bottom. So drawer and just this. And I think what okay. So what I think was the intention here is that when things are loading, we show the widget that we made many moons ago called loading info, which is actually the rotating thing that you see. But normally we show the like hamburger menu, like the hamburger icon, and the hamburger icon gets you the drawer. And so we don't know. Do we want to do this? If it's loading, then loading, and otherwise let's just do icons menu.
Sure.
For now. Okay, so that sounds.
Is there a way to trigger?
Yeah. Maybe it's too fast. Like it's pretty fast, the loading one. So maybe where do we actually loading tabs count? Oh, okay. Okay, we should meet.
What does that mean, loading tabs count?
Yeah,
case?
so this is like when, like, for example, you could refresh news stories, go to top stories, refresh that, and that would, like, if we only had a bool, then we could be like, oh, we're actually just loading like we stopped loading because like I don't know, like the top stories are faster, but in fact we are still loading that other tab. So we like have a way to do that. Maybe we over engineered that.
Yeah, if we're loading anything, we want to show that we're loading.
Yeah.
Not just if we're loading for the current page. Yeah.
I'm a little confused why we did notify listeners here but not there. Oh, okay. So here we're notifying listeners of the Hacker News tab. And here, because this is a value notifier, we're automatically a value notifier when you change the value, like dot value equals something. This will be notifying listeners to the loading tabs count, right? Not very readable, so I'm not sure about that. But what I wanted to do is something like await future delayed duration, like let's say 1 second.
Okay. Just to see if it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, it's looking good so far.
But there's no. Now it's working too good, almost. Like we don't have the menu. Where's the menu?
Are we getting a notification, I guess, would be my question.
Here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it looks like we don't, but. So back to. Yeah, what's going on? Now it's there. Yeah, this looks good. And then. Oh. Oh. Oh no, maybe not. See, we're getting a little too close to just like. To fixing stuff that's. Well, we should fix the bug, right?
So if you do a full restart,
Yeah.
what messages do we get, or what notifications do we get? So we're loading 2.
And we never loading less.
Okay.
Interesting, but that's still not doesn't change this one.
That was a full restart.
Yeah. Oh.
So we're.
Okay. We're not. Okay, so what happens when I say when I do this? Refresh indicator. Tab refresh, which is this. This should, I mean, this is, like this is the value notifier. So it should.
Why do we notify listeners before we?
Well, we notify listeners for the tab itself, so
Okay.
like it can redraw with
Okay.
new content, and then we also notify here whoever is listening to tab count.
Okay, so setting the value will notify as well.
Yeah. This is the setter.
I see. Yeah.
So I'm just wondering if we're really listening to the right tabs count, I guess, or but like where else? And also, like I'm just paranoid. So hello. Right. Nothing happens. Interesting. So yeah, so this looks like trouble.
Let's see. So
we are loading tabs count. Is it Okay. So this is a provider, which means it does not notify anything. Like it doesn't tell the consumers about anything. It will. So if you have something like a change notifier and you use change notifier provider, and we fixed this like at the end of one of those episodes where we were like, oh, we just need provider here, and we had that, and that didn't like this was just crazy because nothing changed anywhere.
Right.
But change notifier automatically subscribes to changes of that change notifier, like HackerNews notifier, and then it will notify, like not notify listeners because that's a change notifier thing, but it will rebuild the well, just inherit widget, like the consumers.
The consumers,
yes. So I think we fixed this, and actually, again, another reason why to switch to provider 3.0 is that will like throw, like if you give it something like HackerNews notifier to a normal provider, it will be like that's not what you want to do. So, but we are not using that, and also this is a value notifier, and I'm not sure if provider actually gives you a value notifier provider. Or listenable provider. Oh, listenable provider.
So loading tabs count is listenable?
Yeah, it's a value notifier, and value notifier is a value listenable, and value listenable is a listenable. Okay.
Cool. Yeah. Looks like it should work.
Oh no! What's going on? Oh, call during build. Wow.
Can we see where?
Yeah, let's see.
So this is the listenable provider.
Right. Oh, we're calling refresh here. I mean, we're calling refresh in a build method. Oh, that's bad. That like I just told someone yesterday by email like you shouldn't do this, like that's terrible. Okay, so
no one would do this.
Yeah, come on. So schedule microtask, or just maybe just what's the easier one?
You can do a new future.
Yeah.
I think you can just
like that,
and then it takes a function, I think.
Oh, you mean this?
Yeah, it takes a computation, which will run. Is one way to do this.
Okay. Okay, let's see. Nice. We fixed it.
Okay, so it's loading, changes back.
It's not spinning, but I'm fine with that. We'll so I'm gonna get rid of the print statements, hopefully. Okay, and then the other one is refresh. There you go. Okay, so good stuff. We fixed the bug. Okay, good. Let me just commit this.
Sure.
That was pre-episode, and now this is fix bug with loading info. Right. So now we have the, okay, now we're getting to the meat of the episode.
Yep.
We want a drawer, right? So normally, if you don't do anything fancy here, you just add a drawer to a scaffold. App bar will kind of magically be like, oh, that scaffold has a drawer. So I will use this leading place to add my own menu bar. And we can actually show it maybe. Where is it? So if we just don't do it at all, this one, you will see that we do have this because, again, a bar knows, and it also works. So it will show our drawer, right? But we're making something a little more fancy. So we need to take care of it ourselves. And fortunately, we do know that we have a drawer, so we can just like put it there, right? So how do we open? Oh, how do we open a drawer?
Yeah, let's try to figure that out. So one way we could look is just look at how the framework does it.
Right.
So what button is it actually putting in there when we don't have a leading?
So app bar leading, and now where does it? Oh no. I'm guessing.
Well, I saw a function called build leading, I think.
Yeah, I think you mean this one. This is from search. I think we are looking at app bar, right? Oh, okay, here. So if app bar gets a leading, it will just skip and see like, okay, cool. If not, then it's like, do we have a drawer? How does it know that we have a drawer? Oh, it takes
It looks
a
at the
theme of scaffold. Cool. I mean, theme of scaffold. Scaffolded off context, and then yeah, cool. I've never seen this. Null OK is true. You seen this?
Never seen that.
That's cool. Okay. And if it has a drawer, it draws an icon button. And okay, so we're doing exactly this. And then on press, handle drawer button. Cool. And what does that mean? Scaffold of context, open drawer.
Easy. Easy.
Handle drawer button end. Oh, end drawer. Okay.
Okay.
So we can do a icon button, right? Oh, you know what? Oh, no. I'm just making it variable icon button. I think it takes icon, yeah.
Ah, okay.
And what does it scream about? On pressed? Yes. On pressed would be scaffold,
yeah.
Off context, open drawer.
Cool. Well, we need to close the drawer too. I guess the drawer will handle closing itself.
Yeah, I didn't see that there, so I think we're fine. Yeah, cool.
Great.
It also does this, which is great. I'm like dragging it. So that this looks good. Okay.
So now we want our drawer to do something, I'm guessing.
Bold. Okay. So our drawer doesn't have much. Okay. Yeah. So it has a container. What else? There's just child and semantic label and container and elevation. Okay. So I think, is there like a drawer, like a drawer header? Yeah, but it's basically, Okay, so container it is. Or maybe a column.
I think what people usually do is put list tiles in the drawer. So we could do
Like a list view?
do a list view with some list tiles, maybe.
All right, builder or not?
I think we know what we're doing
Yeah,
up front, so
yeah.
we could just give it a list of widgets.
Okay, children. And so that would be, let's use the drawer header just because we want our lives easier. What does it scream about? Oh, child. So text agent app. And list style.
Sure.
And that will be like with it. Is there a child? No. It's just title, right?
I think it's title and description, maybe.
Right. So like we are trying to build a favorites page. So favorites. Okay.
Okay, that's not.
Let's see. This looks like I did not. Oh, okay.
Whoa.
So maybe I need to put it into a container.
Yeah, maybe.
And give it a color. Why doesn't it?
That seems really strange. That it's all black like that. Okay, cool.
Okay. So very cool. I want to change the color of this. Can I? No. Okay. So we have favorites. It's not clickable or anything. And now we want maybe like just to populate it a little more. We could have settings, right? Yeah.
Cool.
This episode is about Navigator and about like, okay, how do we push routes and everything like that? Like most people know about how to do that in the general case, right? So you have a Navigator, you don't even create it because you're getting it from either Cupertino app or Widgets app or Material app, and then you just say, hey, navigator.auth context, like push, either just push root and you define it in place, or push named and it will show something, and then Flutter takes care of all the like little animations and everything like that. So let's do that now, I guess. We can give Material app some roots. Do we want to do that?
Yeah, we can use named roots, or we could use just our own
Right.
custom roots, so material roots.
Right, but like, do we want to like create the map of roots here, or do we want to wait until later and just like create, like push root?
Let's create some named roots and see where we start with that.
So that's roots, right? And it's a map, and it's like I think it's context. Sorry, I can't type on my homepage.
Yep.
And then another one will be, do we want to do favorites first or settings?
Settings would be
settings
easier because typically settings takes over the whole app.
So that would be like a settings page, right? And then we don't need to say that initial root is this because that's assumed. Cool. Yeah, if I left this here, I think this would crash, right? Yes, good.
Yeah, it's complaining that you've already defined that.
Yes. Also we don't have that yet. Okay. So let me let me add a new file. Oh. Okay, so that would be pages settings, right? I don't need this. And then it's gonna be a stateless widget, settings page, and thank you. And it's just going to say text settings, but also we need a scaffold, right? Because it's a new page. Okay, so new widget scaffold, and this is a body, and we probably need an app bar.
Yeah, probably need an app bar. Yeah.
But it can be like this.
Yeah,
which is gonna be great. So settings page. Now we just need to import that. And where do we have the? This is it. No, the drawer. So settings is a list style, and is there on press on list style?
I think so. Yeah, I think there's a on tap.
Oh, on tap. And that will say Navigator.
Navigator. So we want to get the Navigator that's supplied by the material app.
Yeah. Push named, context, and the root name is settings. And let's just put it like that.
Cool.
One thing, there's another way to do this, is just like if you haven't seen it, it's completely okay today to do Navigator of context and then push named. This is just, it's just easier and faster to do it like this.
So Navigator by default gives you the
yeah, it's
APIs.
it's exactly what I just did.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, so let's see if that works. Yeah. Cool. Okay, so for settings, I think this kind of works, right? But we're thinking about, like, if I click on favorites, I want this to change and just the drawer to go away. But before we do that, we also would like to talk about like Navigator versus pages and just like pop-up things.
Yeah. So we should probably explain a little bit about what a route is and what it means to push a route, because there's a lot of different contexts that you can push a route and deal with routes. So one would be showing a dialog, right?
Right. So do we want to show it?
Yeah, we could maybe show a dialog somehow.
If we long press, it's probably the best thing, or not? Maybe not.
Yeah, so if we long press an article, maybe we could show some action dialog or something.
Yeah. So that's an expansion tile. Okay, there's an article title. Okay. Wow, this is ripe for a little bit of refactoring, but maybe let's do it with the icon button.
Okay.
Is there a on? Oh, there's no long press here. Okay, so maybe I thought it would be easier, but no. So we can definitely just wrap this with a new gesture detector. And and be like, on long press. We want to open a modal, right?
Yes. So the simplest way is to just call show dialog if we want to do that
Let's
first.
do that. Yes, let's do that. So context is context. And there's a builder. There's also a deprecated child, but you should use the builder to get, I think, the context. We'll see. Yeah, okay, return, and let's say just something like a container again.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think material has a dialog widget.
Oh yeah, maybe. Okay,
so we could do a simple dialog.
Okay, simple dialog.
And that takes
title, which would be, I'm guessing we could say just article title. And oh, maybe it's a text and not. Come on, it's a widget, obviously. And then there's a body or something. Oh, children.
Okay.
And that is, let's say, just lorem ipsum for now, just to show you something. So if I long press here, right? Yeah, very very pretty. But yeah, so this is a route, right?
Yeah.
So even though we're not going to another page or anything like that, we are creating a new route. And let's take a look on how that works internally. So show dialog is just like a kind of global function that will get a theme, but mostly just call this one show general dialog. And show general dialog will do navigator.off push, but instead of pushing like a material page route, which will do that thing, or Cupertino, I guess, page route, it uses a dialog route, which is just a version of pop-up route, which you can define yourself. And so yeah, it's like in the stack. So if we had a back button, we could totally.
Yeah, if I had a button that popped the route, it would make the dialog go away.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's cool. So so that's one way to, for example, like some people are asking, hey, like I like a hero as a widget and the hero animation that it does, and I want to do that, but like I don't want, like I want to do it in a page with like I click on this and I want that global or local secondary indexes, the text to kind of hero animate into the pop-up. That's possible. You just like it's a new route. So from the perspective of the navigator, it's like it will animate between the two. So that's cool. So routes are not just for new pages that take over the whole screen.
Yeah. So if we were to look at our routes for this navigator, we would see we've got our top stories and then we've got this dialogue.
Right.
Okay.
Yes. Well, I don't think we actually don't have a route for top stories. It's just like our main.
It's
right?
our home widget.
Yeah,
I see. Okay.
We could. Yeah, and that's the next thing that we will probably spend the rest of the episode in, is like, what do we do if we want to to have a route for one of these things to a deep link, but also to be able to like click here, and instead of it like with settings going to new screen, we want to click on favorites, this closes, and we go to a new like page that's somewhere here.
So we want to keep our app bar and our dialog, but navigate the body of this scaffold.
Right.
I see.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
We should note that there's an excellent article and sample by Hans Miller from May, I think, which I haven't clapped for. Come on. Oh, I'm not signed in. Okay, that explains it. So this one goes to good detail about like how would you do something like this when you, for example, as here, you have some pages and you want all of them to keep their state, like you have input fields and stuff like that, and then it goes to destination views, and then right like here, and then crossfading between them, and it's like it's like almost like a full app of things that you could do, and there's a repo somewhere.
So it kind of combines all the navigation stuff and a lot of animations and
a
lot of cool stuff.
Yes. So read that if you're interested, and obviously read the Navigator class because you're probably using it all the time, and you don't know how powerful it is. Look, like pop-up routes, that's what we were talking about. Like you can have a menu button, drop down button. You can have custom routes that have custom transitions. I think that's what Hans is talking about as well. You can have nested navigators.
Yeah, the transitions builder is really cool because it gives you an animation and you can move things in and out, and you don't have to worry about animation controllers.
Yeah, you get the animation control here. This is very cool. Okay. So back to our problem. Let me... I just don't want to... Yeah. Let's not keep this here. I just wanted to show it to you, but maybe I should have done this by Git, but whatever. Okay, this looks good.
Cool.
And so yeah, how do we do this if someone does the favorite thing? Where is it? On tap. So what do we do?
Well, we need to, if we just use the global navigator, it would do the same thing as the settings page.
Yes.
So I happen to know that you can use other navigators within your app.
Okay.
So maybe we should wrap our body of our scaffold in a navigator, potentially. And see if we can get access to that somehow.
So our scaffold is over... Where's our scaffold? Okay, here. So the body of our scaffold is in a new navigator?
You're wrapping the whole scaffold right now, I think.
Yeah. Oh, the body of the scaffold, yes.
Yeah. So
this?
I think we could try this.
Okay.
It might not work, but...
So why are we doing this?
Because we want to keep the drawer and the app bar around.
Right.
And we want this child of our navigator to change.
Right. So I guess we do on generate route, or...
Yeah, I think there's an on generate route. Yeah.
And I forgot what it takes.
So on generate route is just the same as what the material app on generate route function looks like, I think.
Right. Okay. Cool. And then
so I think the settings.name will get us the name of the route.
So let's just print it.
Yep.
Anything else?
I think we want to return our page view builder.
Oh, the widget itself? It returns a widget?
I think we want to return. Oh, I see.
Root factory. I think we need to return a root.
Okay, so we need a material page root.
Oh.
Or page root. Maybe try material page root.
Oh yeah, that's an abstract class. So material. Okay, it has a builder.
Yeah.
Okay, that's just a context. And that's this.
Yeah. So right now we only have one root, essentially.
Right.
And it's the whole page that we were just working within. So nothing should have changed, I think. Hopefully.
Okay. Are you ready?
Okay, it's
I saw a weird thing there.
Okay.
Have you seen it?
Maybe do it one more time. Oh, it pushed the route.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's fine. I mean, let's see if we can do something with this, and if not, then, well, then,
yeah,
bad luck. So, so now, why isn't this? Okay, and by the way, we get the root here. So the print statement here does like gets just a slash. So I think we don't need this, or do we? Maybe yes. Maybe later.
Yeah, we can keep it.
Put something else there. So now, if I can actually find my way around here, I can do. I would like to get access to that navigator.
Yeah.
Somehow, and push a route to that navigator, and not the one from Material app. Correct.
Right. So just getting the global one won't get us the right one.
Right.
Yeah.
So this means that we kind of need a way to get the navigator widget, and I'm afraid we need to use global key.
I think that's a good starting point for us, but
right. No. So navigator page navigator key, or yeah, page navigator key, and page navigator key is a global key. We can give it a debug label, but we don't need to.
Does it need a type? Does it need a generic type?
Oh, good point. So navigator, right?
I think so. Could try that. Or navigator settings or something.
State. Wait, global key?
Navigator state, maybe.
Oh.
So navigator state, I'm trying to remind myself what that is, but it's the state for the navigator widget,
right?
Which makes sense. So
okay, cool. So yeah, before just and maybe I did it too fast, but like if I do just this, that will complain, hey, let me see, a value of type can be assigned to a variable of navigator. Oh, come on. Right, so navigator doesn't extend state of stateful widget.
I see.
So this should tell you like, hey, we need a state. So cool, and I didn't know that navigator state is a thing that we can use. So now we have the page navigator key, and I mean it's a global key, but we can use it here. Let me do this.
I think the context.
Current
Oh
context.
no, sorry, the current state.
Current state.
And then we can do our normal.
Ooh, yes. So push name something new, like favorites.
Yeah, we can try
Okay.
favorites.
Okay, maybe I'm gonna do this. Not much better, but whatever. Oh. Okay. So now, if we click here, it should print out. Damn. What is it?
Go to the run tab.
Yeah. No, debug. Yeah, favorites. Cool.
Oh, cool.
Also, I don't think we push name. I think we replace.
We probably want to replace, yeah.
Because I saw the thing that is there a replace or something? Yeah, replace. Wait.
Push replacement.
Push replacement.
Named. The next one.
Oh yeah. Good.
Yeah.
So let's restart. And favorites. Yeah. It still does the animation.
Okay. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure how we can fix that.
Yeah, but
we can
okay,
we can think about that.
At least we have this whole thing where we're like, okay, this doesn't like settings puts up into a different place, but favorites just does this. I want to get rid of the drawer when we click there. How do I do that? And again, I need to convert back to body, and I don't need to return any of this. And also, how do I get rid of a drawer?
I think a drawer is a route. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
So we might be able to just pop from the global navigator.
Bolt. Okay. Navigator.
Pop.
Okay, let's see.
That actually looked pretty good, even though it's
Yeah.
Is that showing the favorites page?
No, we don't have a favorites page, but
there's an animation. Oh, it's animating a new. I see. So it's always pushing a route. So we're pushing the same view on top of itself over and over.
Right. But it's like it looks good. So okay, I think we're basically done. Like we can create the like a very like a scaffold almost of the favorites page, which does nothing because I don't think we have that much time in it, and this is not the point of the episode. And I think we're pretty happy. No,
I'm pretty happy with it.
So we have a file that's called favorites dart, and it's again a stateless widget. Favorites page, and something terrible like just a text, and hopefully like maybe we could do like a center.
Yeah. And we need a scaffold too.
Yes. Do we? We
might not need everyone. We might not need a scaffold. Yeah.
Okay, and and we're not using it anywhere. So
but I guess that's another point, is it is allowed to use more than one scaffold. if you need to.
Right. Yes. Okay. Like this needs refactoring. But where do we generate the route again?
I think it's maybe search for on generate.
Yeah. Oh, not like this. On generate. Yeah. Oh yeah, here in the body. Nice. So this can be just like if settings name equals favorites, right? Which is terrible. We should have it in a different place. Blah blah blah. Return material page route.
I think so.
Okay. Page route, and it's just a builder of context like this.
So material page route is doing the animation.
Right. Okay. It did not need a scaffold. We need to have a way to exit the favorites.
That is true. That is true. We are stuck.
But that's a bug that we'll leave to the next people. So
just like we planned.
Yes, yeah. Yes. So a little bug there. You know, people can still kill the app. Come on.
Yeah.
You know,
just restart.
Yeah, just restart. So thank you for watching. We have shown some cool stuff with navigators. We have fixed one of the bugs. We talked about page routes. We talked about being able to have routes that are not taking over the whole screen, but just like an overlay or something. Even a drawer, I found out today, is a route.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who'd have thought?
Yeah. So cool. Thank you very much, and see you next time.
Yep. See ya. Bye.